today you will never see again. And so here, God is promising peace to his people. Not saying that you never face a battle, but this time in the battle, there is peace. There is supernatural peace and understanding and confidence to be in the battle, because we know that we're not alone. We know that God is with us. And so there's a big difference. So what's begun to happen and shift and change with the church right now upon the earth is that we were fighting battles and we were tormented by our enemies. But now we're fighting battles coming out of this 5-year period of reformation. We're coming to a place of confidence that God has power to defend his church. God has power to deliver them. And so there's a huge difference now.
During this time, church just struggling. I just feel to ask you this question, because many people just thinking, lots of people, I think a youngster, I would like to ask you, lots of youngster girls and boys not in church, they are out of church, because I think they're struggling with church, and I think there is lots of activities.
Okay, I'm trying to listen. Just obviously there's a bit of a network issue. Are you still there? Hello. Are you? I think obviously that's a network, so I can't hear the rest of the sentence. But if I can kind of get to the first part of it, where you're saying that a lot of people are struggling and they don't want to go to church and so forth. I think if I can say that, you there's a kind of, you're kind of frozen at the moment. Okay, so I'm just going to continue, because I don't know if you are still talking or what's going on. But anyway, that's, there's so much shifting taking place, and so the infrastructure of what we knew as church formatted church in a certain way and method. And so being this generation that we are in right now, we are trying to adapt to the new infrastructure that God has been laying, and he's restructuring in the house of God. And so I think with the 5-year period of shaking and pruning, fire and trials and testing, is that the church had to go through the place of the fire, so that that which remains is of God. And so we're talking about infrastructure as well, of religious systems and methods and patterns, blueprints of religious infrastructures, what we deemed as church. That is all shifted, because only that which remains, the Bible says, that which can be shaken will be shaken, and and whatever is left behind is the true. And so even we find that even with the fire, is that many go through the fire, but only that which is able to survive the fire is true. And so that's why gold has to be molded and tested through fire. And the Bible says we are more precious than gold and silver, or whatever it is. And we go through that refiner's fire to see what kind of gold, what quality, and that's why gold must go through the fire to see what kind of quality it's really made up of. And the same with the church, is the church had to go through the shaking, go through the fire. Religious systems absolutely been crumbling, because the Bible says that which is of God will only survive and stand. Nothing else of man-made systems or methods, patterns, or ideology, whatever it is, that will never make it through the fire of God. It can't. It will never survive, because it was man orchestrated. And so only that which is authentic and godly and righteous would be able to be sustained through this kind of fire and purging. And that's what we've been seeing. And so God has had to restructure what we deem as church, because what we've been doing has been a man-made infrastructure, and now God has literally torn that apart. And so we are left in a place where God is restructuring, He's rebuilding, and He's formatting His blueprint that He originally had for man upon the earth. And so we're trying to apostolically and prophetically adjust to this, that that which is of God is now being revealed. And we're finding that this generation of apostolic and prophetic leaders is now getting that revelation and knowledge from God Himself, and putting that infrastructure into place. And so we are shifting from one era into another, from one order into another, and one dispensation of what we thought was church into another dispensation of the true church. And so a generation can't survive in what was. A generation is going to survive in only that which is authentically of Christ, that needs to be revealed in the nations. And so when we look at generations
Issues.
and we're looking at
Yeah, I'm
why,
back. I'm back.
okay, you back.
So sorry because of technical issues, and I don't
It's
know
fine.
what's happening because of problems. So I was asking you, youngster people, just detract, and I believe that you just give a good answer to people. Why our youngster people just detract from church, and our church is struggling, and right away I think lots of problems in church, and I think not in church, but many people just detract. There is lots of problems. Tell us about youngster people, and who's struggling in small hearts and small circumstance. Yeah,
Okay, I was just sharing now that,
yeah,
there's been a whole reformation of infrastructure of the church. So the
yeah,
church has shifted.
yeah.
And yeah, so I do think that we are shifting, obviously, from one dispensation of what church used to be like to another